Welcome to another Warframe video. In this one, I'm going to show you the top 5 best frames for beginners. This is focused on beginners only, so if you are a veteran or you've been playing the game for a while, don't really need to watch this video. If you clicked on it, thank you, but you don't really need to watch it. To start off, I want to explain some factors that I had in mind when I was picking these type of frames. I just wanted to show them because in a lot of my videos, people leave comments where if they listen to me or if I said it, then people would understand what this means, why I'm saying it, and if they have difficulties with it, why they might. There are 4 factors that made me decide on these frames. One of them is how easy is it to use. Of course, as a beginner, you're new to everything, so you want to make sure that this frame is easy for you to use, not too complicated. You don't need to do a bunch of modding, which then goes into the other factor of modding. Mods are very important in Warframe. The next factor is how easy is it to get. Can you just go and get the resources quickly, even if it takes just a little bit to get some Nekros, to get some neural sensors? Is it easy to purchase? Does it cost a lot? Do you need to do a quest? That type of stuff. A lot of these, I don't think any of these besides one come from a quest, depending on which type you want to choose from, which I will explain later on, of course. Really, I just wanted to make sure this was easy for a beginner to get and kind of focuses on the more new beginner planets, stuff that you're going to be starting on or getting to very quickly, which is where you could get these frames at. Then lastly, what special use does it have? To pick these frames, I want to make sure that they give a beginner some special ability, some special way for them to play it, whether that be for resources, special to take in a bunch of damage, or it's special to deal out a bunch of damage. All that type of stuff is what I had in mind when I was picking these frames. Now, to start off with the frame that I think is the best for a beginner is Rhino. Rhino is so easy to get. He comes from the planet Venus. When you defeat the Jackal in the assassination mission, you do it a few times, you get his parts, his systems, neuroptics, his chassis, all this stuff. You don't really need an extraordinary amount of resources, at least not rare ones, and then you just purchase his blueprint in the market. He's very, very easy to use, and he's a tank. Some people, once they go on throughout the game, they still use Rhino, especially with this rework, with this being Overguard now. Overguard is a lot easier to use, a lot easier to spot, I guess, to see how much is getting taken away, where the little icon in the corner was not really eye-catching. And of course, Rhino is also very easy to mod, especially in beginner phase. You just have the mods for your health, your energy, well, not really much so energy, but your health, your armor, your shield, all that type of stuff. And then you have a few mods for just duration, efficiency, range, and strength. You're not going to get a ton for those mods yet, but you may have a few. So with that, you want to focus on your strength and maybe efficiency as well, especially when you don't have any energy mods yet. If you focus on efficiency, you're not going to use as much energy when using his second ability, Iron Skin, as well as his third, which is Roar. This one just gives you a damage increase, so you may want this when going through those more difficult lobbies or difficult missions for you. But Iron Skin is the main focus on this, giving you some extra armor, so when you have to upgrade weapons or you just have to go through the game, having that extra armor, or now Overguard, is going to be very, very helpful for you, and you can just do it over and over again. Before I move on to the next one, I just want to mention that I have videos on most of these frames, at least how to get them. So if you look it up on my channel or you just look it up anywhere, people are going to have ways or show you how to get these frames. I will talk about how to get them as well. This video, I just wanted it to be kind of plain and simple and easy to go through, not really get too descriptive in them, because you just want to know what the best ones are for you as a beginner. Moving on from Rhino, we have Wukong. Wukong is very easy to get. You just have to join a clan and make sure they have a Tenno Lab dojo, and they have him as one of those items to get and replicate. You do need a bit more credits than all the other ones. You have to buy all of his parts with credits, all the blueprints at least, and then from then on, he's pretty easy to build resource-wise. I believe you need some Oxium for him, and those are all in all the Corpus level missions. Once you go on those, you'll find the Oxium drones, and those are the only things that can give you Oxium. With Wukong, he's pretty easy to mod as well. The main thing I want you to focus on as a beginner is his first ability, as well as his second, really. The third you can somewhat, but you're not going to get a ton of armor when you do it, or deal out a ton of damage early on. Maybe to lower levels, it doesn't matter. You won't have enough strength mods to add to it, I believe, at the point that you may be at. So it may not be worth it to just look at this yet. However, if you go on the Cloud Walker, what this does is when you're using it and you're moving around, you gain your health and shield back. Your shield, of course, over time always comes back, but your health comes back with this ability. So if you lose maybe 500 health and you have 200 left, just use this and you're going to get it right back as long as you move. And when you're using this, when you have your twin activated, it's going to give him some of his health health back too if he lost any. The big thing about the twin, as though it also deals out damage, it's more of just a dummy for them to shoot at with a ton of health. When you have strength on this is just going to up the multiplier in the health. And if you have a ton of health on here, when you should have vitality right now, and you should also have redirection, those are going to be the things that's going to look at. And when you have a ton of that, is then going to double it, triple it, or whatever you have your multiplier on, depending on your strength mods. Twin's just going to be a tank. So he's very easy to use, very easy to mod, and the twin ability was just such a good addition to him, as well as him just not dying. You can technically die 3 times before you actually die the 4th time. Each time you're invulnerable right after you die, and you get an added bonus or added perk to you. Moving on from Wukong, we have Nezha. Nezha is pretty easy to understand as well. This was my favorite one when I was starting the game. The first ability was just amazing to me, and now I've learned how to play Nezha a bit more. He's just a very fun character. When you're using Firewalker, again going on to one of those factors, just very easy to use. You just hit it once and you just run. You just walk in the game, or sprint, whatever. You just move, and fire is going to be behind you. If you have your strength up, of course, that means the damage for the fire is up as well. If you have range on there, the radius of your fire is going to spread more, and of course the duration, how long you have this ability active, and how long it's going to affect the enemies who walk into the fire. So with this one, really duration and strength are going to be your best option here, especially pairing it with the third ability, which is warding halo. This one just basically sucks in a bunch of damage, then multiplies that and what the damage reduction is going to be. So let's say you got 50 damage absorbed, it's going to be way more than that, I would imagine, and then it multiplies that, so maybe it goes to 1500. You then get 1500 of basically armor, and then that replenishes over time as you get shot at. Kind of works like Rhino skin, Iron skin before the rework, but a bit different, of course, but it works kind of in that same way. So again, Nezha is just really easy to build, really easy to play, and to get Nezha, it's the same thing as Wukong. Go in the Tenno Lab dojo, buy all the blueprints with credits, and then just build them. The resources for Nezha are, I believe, easier than Wukong as well. Next, we have Excalibur or Excalibur Umbra, either or. I'm going to just show Excalibur Umbra for this one, as this is the only one I have, and I sold the other one. But I did choose Excalibur when I started this new account, and I'm sure a lot of you who are watching this chose him as well. So good news, he's on the list. He is a good frame for beginners just because of his Exalted Blade. At least in my opinion, the Exalted Blade is what pushed me through all those missions when I was starting out on this new account. It still did, even through higher missions as well. Excalibur is pretty easy to upgrade as well. Focus on the blade. You can focus on his second ability, which is going to blind them and leave them stunned. His third ability is okay as well. I don't think it does enough damage for you to constantly use it. I think it would be better just to use that energy on your sword, and maybe the second ability, but when you have your sword out, you can also stun them too if you slide and then hit it. I don't know if the second one would even be worth it in that sense either, but to focus on the mods when it comes to Excalibur, you can mod himself for his blade as well. Just up the strength, the range, efficiency if you have any of those mods, because this is of course going to take some energy away every so often, every second, as well as its initial drainage, so 30 maybe, and then 1.5 energy, 1.5 energy each second. So you might want to try to make that as easy on you as you can. If not, that's still fine. It's still good to have that blade out just for a little bit and just deal a ton of damage. And of course, you can also upgrade the blade itself. When you upgrade the Exalted Blade, you have all those mods from your melee weapons. So depending on what you have then at this stage that you're in Warframe, it's going to be a very, very good impact that you have when it comes to your blade. Let's see, some of the ones that you should have should be True Steel, maybe Reach, Pressure Point. Those common mods you should already have, which just help with critical damage, regular damage, everything else like that, which is going to be helpful when pairing up to your regular mods on your frame. So again, very easy to mod. If you have melee mods, it helps the blade even more, way more. So very helpful when you're starting out early. And again, he's pretty easy to get too. You can either choose him as soon as you start up the game. You can get Umbra from a quest, which is pretty easy and very fun. One of my favorite quests in the game. That would be later on, of course, but that's how you get Umbra. I do have a video on that as well if you're confused on how to get Umbra. And then just getting Excalibur, you do have to face a boss, I believe, an assassination boss, which is way later in the game. So this is really meant for people who picked Excalibur right away and they've already been playing him. This is just to say, here's how you mod him and go after it. Excalibur is really easy to use. Just use the fourth, use your sword, you're good. Moving on from Excalibur, we have the last one I'm going to mention, which is Nekros. The last one on this list at least. Nekros is really easy to get as well. You have to face Lephantis. Lephantis is pretty easy to beat. It's just basically a 3-headed monster. You kill all 3 heads, then you kill all 3 heads in one again, if that makes sense. So basically kill the thing 4 times and you're good. But you would need a decent weapon for this, but it's also like level 30 or 20 maybe even lower than that actually. So it's pretty easy to get, and to get to the planet it's really easy as well. If you watch any of my Neurode video or how to get Neurodes and Oricon cells, I have a YouTube short and that shows shows the boss where it's at, everything, and how to defeat it very quickly. But Nekros is very easy to mod. The reason I picked him isn't because of damage or damage reduction or health or anything. It's because he's very easy to get resources from. If you use Desecrate, you're going to get a 54% increase in loot. So if you're trying to farm that rare resource or just a common resource that's just hard to get like Oxium, you can just use this over, the bodies that you kill, and you get extra loot from it. That's going to be very, very beneficial for you when you're early on in the game, when you can't really do repeated missions of assassination attempts just because it may be a bit more difficult for you. You just are easier in those low level survival missions. Use Nekros and it's going to be a bit easier for you to get those rare resources that you're looking for. You can of course use Shadows of the Dead. I would not really focus on this early on. This will really help him as there's other bodies for the enemies to shoot at instead of him. And if you have a mod on him, this does redirect some of his damage, or the damage he takes to the people that he spawned in. But again, we're not going to focus on this. Just the third ability. This just really helps you in progressing through Warframe when it comes to resources. Right, and that's all I have for this video. If you enjoyed, please let me know. If you thought this was a stupid list, let me know as well. If you then found this list useful, I would love to know, and hopefully I did a good job at explaining some of them. I just wanted to briefly explain it and not go into a 20-minute long video. With all that said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.